Hi, I'm Kim.
And I'm Brad.
We're 6260 Haunted, California, and today we're going to review Universal Studios Hollywood Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah, we're also going to give you tips and things you need to know before you go, because there is a lot, and there's a lot to do, and a short time to do it in.
We're also going to share our opinions and kind of our more favorite things about Halloween Horror Night mazes, and maybe our not so favorite.
Yeah, so we'll let you in-depth review of kind of all of it. It's a big monster. Okay, so let's go ahead and get in first of all. Tickets. Tickets are a huge range of prices. So you're looking from anywhere from general admission, starts at $72, goes all the way up to $102 depending on night, to the RIP tour being topping out at $449.
Wow, yeah, that is, because somewhere in the middle is also in one-time express pass. They also sometimes have a unlimited express pass. And then on some nights we found out they also have an after 12 express pass that's like the one time per maze. But they have an algorithm we talked to team members to find out. It's not offered every single night. It depends on capacity, how many people are using it,
how many people have used it, and it's actually a computer that decides if they're going to offer it or not. And the night that we went was the second night of Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios Hollywood, and it didn't offer it. They said they couldn't do it.
We had Tropical Storm K going through, lots of rain, lots of technical difficulties. A lot of mazes were shut down for a little bit or quite a significant amount of time, or minimized effect because of that. So that definitely was a huge reason of why they couldn't do the after 12.
So that's one of our first tips. Prepare for all weather options. Apparently rain now in Southern California.
Yeah, that's really something we hadn't experienced at Halloween Horror Nights before at Hollywood. And we would definitely say that played a bigger factor than we thought it would.
Mm-hmm. So prepare for heat, cold, or a mixture of both, and rain. So just really pay attention to that weather forecast before you go so you're prepared. We were prepared with umbrellas because we knew rain was coming. You know, and years past we've been prepared for warmer days or a warmer beginning of the
night where we cool off towards the end.
Yeah,
so it's just all out there.
Yeah.
Mother Nature.
Before we get into the park, we also have a second tip or recommendation. If you have the early pass to get in, or even just getting there early, is do your shopping early if you're just going to get a sweatshirt or a t-shirt.
Okay, so right outside the theme parks is a Universal store, and that had like some of the t-shirts, different pins, little knickknacks and stuff. You can buy it before you go if you want to bring it with you all night long. That might be kind of hard if you're going in because some of the stuff is heavier and you don't want to carry with you. But that store closed at 10:30 on a Friday night, so it closes earlier than the event.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and let's get into our next tip. If you have early access entry, so that's if you bought the ticket after 2 p.m. for the park and the Halloween Horror Nights, or if you're a pass holder, you have access to early entry to go down to the lower lot and get to those mazes.
Or RIP tour.
Oh yeah, RIP, can't forget that. And that could really benefit you if you do not have the Universal Express Pass for the Halloween Horror Nights, because you have a lot of mazes and a short time to get through. As the event goes closer to Halloween, those are going to get longer and longer. So
they give you a wristband, and down in the lower lot, you can go and you could do the mazes down there.
Yeah, so
that's huge.
Yeah, and get that early access to those is a big deal.
So those open at 6 p.m. And the actual event doesn't start till 7 p.m. every night. So that's a big deal. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't have that after 2, you can still get in as the pass holder RIP tour.
Okay, let's start with the lower lot. Talking about the lower lot, let's go to Killer Clowns for Outer Space.
I love that it's colorful and it's kind of like warped clowns. Like I don't know if it's because gravity in space, they seem like they're larger.
Yeah, it's like that. I hate to say it. Those clowns freak me out more than the clowns that are trying to be scary.
They're like funny, scary clowns, but they really do. I mean, those scare actors are pretty amazing.
And the great thing about this maze is it is so colorful and everything. It just adds to the scariness and like silliness of the whole thing.
But at the same time, they pump in like a cotton candy smell too. So it's kind of funny how that like all plays together. It's definitely works well.
And I put that as one of the more fun. I'm not saying totally scary. I mean, people are scared of clowns, but it's more of the fun, scary.
You can
houses.
find comic humor in that one too.
And we really enjoyed that one. Okay, let's go to our next maze, which is Universal Monsters Legends Collide.
Okay, so this is kind of a cool one they've never brought together. They brought the Wolfman versus Dracula versus the Mummy, and it has a backstory to it where it's set in ancient London museum, and they have artifacts from props from the movie The Mummy. They actually built the house around the pieces they brought in, so they had to have like a crane come in, put the props in from the Mummy, and then build the house.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and really they give you that backstory in line, so that's kind of nice to have that backstory, what's going on, and it worked well. It's really cool. I had a good time with that one.
Yeah, and the kind of cool thing was there's a story to it. They're after the Amulet of Ra, and they kind of go through this whole story, but these scare actors are interacting with each other, and that's one of the things that Halloween Horror Nights creative director John Murdy said is watch out how these scare actors interact with each other. So that was a cool element for sure.
Yeah, there's also kind of a cool thing about it. It talks about the moons, which you have the blue moon, which is for Wolfman.
So these are the full moons.
Yep. You had the blood moon for Dracula, of course.
And then the Mummy has a harvest moon. Fun fact is tonight is the third night of Halloween Horror Nights coming up, and we are going to be having a harvest moon.
So it fits right into the whole theme, right? It's kind of subtle. You don't really get it, but it's there if you look in the backgrounds and everything. It's just really cool.
Yeah.
So we did enjoy that one. It's one of those ones that if you don't know the backstory, it can be confusing. So pay attention to that backstory before you go in. And let's go to the
weekends.
Yeah, and this was a new one that really, I'm going to tell you right now, we were extremely surprised by this one.
Okay, this was the one maze that I was really afraid that was going to be all hyped up and then let down. But this is also one of those things that this is based on the After Hours album that The Weeknd put out. And I feel like I had to listen to the lyrics a little bit more and actually watch the music videos. Because when it was first announced, like I've listened to The Weeknd's music and it's like, oh, it's kind of like fun music.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that kind of confused us at first about this. We were thinking, oh, fun. Who knew he had such a dark mind?
Well, I think once you watch the videos, you understand that. It's basically a Hollywood vanity and then transitions into a Vegas glam.
And you really got that Hollywood vanity. If you're thinking about plastic surgery, this might give you second thoughts.
Right? That's like every horror story going wrong there.
Yeah, and it was a great, scary, and interactive and fun house, I believe.
I do too. And even outside of the house before you go in, it plays music. They play The Weeknd's music, but they also at one point have it where the lights, yeah.
His eyes kind of do this weird glowy thing, and it's really cool. We really enjoyed that one. So, yeah, that's the lower lot. But there's more at the lower lot that, besides, if you're hungry, well, there is a clown barbecue.
Okay, and there's also like a JoJo's ice cream that's like clown themed. We did the RIP tour. We didn't get to try that. If we go back, we want to. There's a lot of fun little, event only food.
Yeah. And then they also have the Weeknd has a bar and lounge area, I guess is the way to put it up top.
So it's right up above Jurassic Cafe, which if you know us, that's one of our favorite places to go in the park.
Yeah, so they do have themed beverages there, which is great.
So we tried some of the drinks. They definitely theme them out and have little extras in them. They're fun. They play The Weeknd's music. It is a good vibe.
Yeah, one of them actually has a syringe in it.
Yeah.
So the lower lot, there's a lot to do. I know we started at the lower lot, not at the beginning, because really when you go in now, when they open the gates about, 5:30?
Yeah, it was 5:30 when they opened.
They don't have that scare rush in anymore.
Yeah, so they do more of an interactive show in the Scare Zone by the streets of New York at the beginning, like periodically throughout the night instead of just the one opening ceremony.
Yeah, so they'll have the scare actors walking around there as normal and doing like a show.
Like we said, we were there during the rain, so we didn't get that whole experience.
Yeah, so with the rain, this is where some of the complications can come in with weather. Obviously, you didn't want to have the scare actors there on stilts because they could slip and break their neck, and then we have a whole different type of story.
That's Horror Nights gone way wrong.
I found this area this year not to be as exciting.
But we can't really say that for sure.
I don't know. I think when they did the Purge and they had the sirens going off and everything else.
I know.
I think it was just been more exciting in the past. Again, the rain did subdue it a little bit.
Well, for us, even the other scare zones were either non-existent, only had the props out, no scare actors, or like in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, the Death Eaters were underneath the covered area.
So let's go ahead and start walking over that area. So talking about Wizarding World Harry Potter, this is the first year they've had this area themed for Halloween Horror Nights.
That was so cool. They did an amazing job. Total kudos for that being used. And I think they could even go farther with it. And I loved it.
So the Death Eaters are normally in the back alley that's kind of...
It's like way to the right. Almost if you like stayed by Hogwarts Express to that side of the park, like towards the shops, you have to stay way right.
Way right. It's across from Three Broomsticks that out, and there's like a little covered area. This is where we had them unfortunately because of the rain. But behind that, and those Death Eaters did a great job. They were fun. They were spooky. They were right behind you, doing everything It was fun. So the reason we're talking about going through this area is because you have to go through this area to get to the two houses, which is...
They're kind of in the mid-lot. First one was the Scarecrow, the Reaping, and it's based on a Depression-era farm with a serial killer.
Yeah, so that was fun. You didn't need a really backstory about that one. It was just, you kind of got it. The only thing I would say the Depression-era farm is the thing that kind of put it over the top so you know what it is.
So I loved going through that. They definitely have like animal carcass props out, and that's kind of gross, and that definitely scares me on its own.
That's funny. That grosses you out, but the people with corn sticking out of their heads.
That did freak me out too. Okay. That was okay. They did really well on this. I was really happy with this.
This house was actually a lot of people we talked to as favorite. So let's go to our next one, which was Halloween. Well, Halloween's been there for a lot of times, you say. But...
So this is based on the original 1978 film. So there's a lot of nostalgia because this year Halloween Ends is coming out. And so they went back to what started the whole franchise.
And this was probably close to one of my favorite houses of the night.
And we say that I think there's a lot of nostalgia for us. Definitely at the beginning they have Dr. Loomis talking, and it kind of sets up the start of it. You go through and you've got Michael Myers, and at the end, I'm going to say where they had like some mirrors going through the maze. That was really creepy, and they have a bunch of like what's it called, statues or of Michael, and you don't know which one's a scare actor and which one's this like the statue or the figure. That one I'll say, I didn't want to walk forward. I kept I don't want to go any further. This is freaking me out.
Yeah, I like that one. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, really. I'm not saying that's fun, but it was actually trying to be scary, and
it comes across. And I think we say fun because we're so it's so classic Halloween, and obviously name, but the whole theme, it's just really spot on.
Mm-hmm. So from there, let's go up to our next maze, which is at the kind of very beginning of the park, which was right by where Waterworld is, which is
Bloomhouse.
Yeah, so this is kind of be set up like a video rental store. They would a mix of horror movies.
So to me, this is like one of those movies you really have to, both of them you should watch before you go.
And absolutely, we would recommend that, because if I did not watch The Black Phone, I would have been completely lost in this one. And we did not watch the other movie, which is
Freaky. But it's basically a Freaky Friday film where a teenager and serial killer exchange bodies.
Yeah. So I was kind of completely lost on the very first part of it. The second part, I knew exactly when I saw the black phone. I knew what we're doing and I knew what was going on.
I kind of wish, because it's such a psychological thriller, they would have had the grabber with the van and black balloons. And
I think that was your biggest disappointment of that one.
Because that would have really freaked me out in the way he was like trying to, and maybe it was subdued because of the rain, and there was rain coming through that house while we were going, so they may not have had all the elements working.
And to let you know, at the end of the night, because there was so much rain, they actually had to close it off.
So the last like hour plus, Bloomhouse was closed because of the elements. So we're kind of wondering if we missed some stuff because of that.
But I enjoyed it overall. It wasn't the worst house. It was fun, but I think if you didn't understand it, you'd be completely lost and be like, what's going on here?
To me, this was like the overhyped house. Like previously, we all wanted to see Stranger Things. We're excited. Some of us were let down. We didn't think it was as good as it could have been. I kind of feel this way about Bloomhouse.
Let's go to our next one, which is Universal Hotel.
Okay, I had really high hopes for this one. It's set in 1920s Hollywood, and that's always such a fun, glam Hollywood theme. And I will tell you, walk into the house, and the first thing you see is a bathroom scene, and that sets up like the whole thing, and I'm like, wow, this is going to be amazing.
And really, this is one of the mazes that I hate to say it, is that you kind of may have to go through twice, because there are a lot of scare actors that jump out at different places, and it's not always the same place.
The timing on this one you could get really off on.
Yeah, so you're trying to get all that screams, like jumping out and everything else. We went through it twice, and we still didn't get them all.
Right, and I kind of feel like for me this was the big letdown. Like I was really pumped about it, and I just didn't. It didn't quite go there for me.
I would say this is the second bottom of our nightly activities. Would you put it that way?
Oh, so you put it at second lowest. See,
I would put it as the lowest house.
Lowest house, yes.
Of the night. And there was only one thing that was more disappointing to us, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. So yeah, I was just not a big. It's like because it was a reuse of the area from Walking Dead. It's like they just tried to jam something in there that worked.
It didn't work.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you had been hitting all the timing of the scare actors, you might have been in a little bit better space. But we kept missing it, and it just felt a little short.
So yeah, it's kind of that's what we got. Let's go to our next house, which is kind of a replay from years past.
And that's La Llorona, the Weeping Woman. So this was very interesting to me because the first time we went through, it was much scarier. It was open. We didn't have any technical difficulties going through it. This is why getting to Halloween Horror Nights early is a big deal. Because I feel like these houses are getting more and more technical, and they're more likely to have technical difficulties, especially when weather plays a factor.
Yeah, we really enjoyed our first time going through it. It had a great story, had everything going for it, and it's kind of freaky by the time you get to the end.
Yeah, and I still think we missed a few scare actors because they couldn't be outside with the rain. So I think it still is missing a little bit from that, but it was still amazing. Like the first time we went through, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And then later at the end of the night, we went right before we left. It'd been downpouring. They couldn't do all the technical things. Walking through without as many scare actors and the elements not working, I was kind of bored.
Yeah, it subdued it.
It was boring.
No.
The first enter where you go into a church, that was awesome. But after that, because of the rain and because how advanced that house is, it was boring.
Yeah. So, and then the other bad part is because when you exit out of the area, there's kind of a scare zone there. And the first time we exited out there were scare actors there. And
there was a few, not all of them.
All of them there. But it was still kind of scary. There's not as much fog. Again, we think this is because of the rain. It'd be a fun area, I believe, with everything we've gone to. I mean, with the elements and everything else going there, it was kind of neat. So we're not gonna.
I feel like the scare zones for the night in general were not very good because of the rain.
Yeah, and it affected a lot of things. Even in some areas of, well, one area a lot of people like to go is the area where they have Los Muertos.
Dia de los Muertos.
That was a cool area. I love the hearse that's there, the panoramas, the different elements there, and also they have some really cool drinks and food there.
Yeah, it was definitely it was like no lines, anything like that, but that is usually a very fun place to be.
Let's go from that kind of cool area with all the diagrams. I have to go back to the hearse. That thing is just so cool. It's been there 2 years. I love it. To our next area, which...
So it's a Terror Tram, and to be fair, we did the RIP tour, so we didn't do the traditional tram, but they just played the same video.
Yeah, so we got the same story, the backstory, everything else going through it. And it drops you off right before the Bates Motel area, which you walk through. That area was actually kind of cool because you had the cars there, kind of a weird, different, scary area.
Well, just a little backstory. Harry the Clown invites you to his Halloween party. The actor that was in the film... he was freaky. Like, if he invited me to a Halloween party, I'm not going.
Yeah. And so we had big expectations, and especially after last year with the Purge they did through there was so fun and excellent. We were like, okay, we started out great. We got over by the Bates Motel, and they have a maze over there.
And the scare actors that kind of open you up as you get into there and chase you with the chainsaw clowns. That's a scary thing.
Yeah. But once you got to the Bates Motel, I got to say, I was disappointed?
Yeah, it was a little lackluster in that area.
And this is not just because the rain affected some of it. It was...
Because it could have been covered on the hotel side.
Mm-hmm. It just wasn't...
It was okay.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's because of last year what we went through was so excellent compared to this year. It's like...
We've seen so many years better in the Bates Motel area.
Yeah. So we go there and you had the whole Harry the Clown to invite you to a party and everything else. Yeah. Then you kind of go into...
It was a little dead.
Yeah. You go into a little bit of misnomer. And this would be the area if you really want to skip it, you could. Or if you want the photo opportunity, you can get it. There's Norman there with at the Bates Motel with Mother.
Well, Psycho House.
Yeah. So... a lot of people chose to skip that, which if you're trying to keep that storyline going with the clown...
We've done it so many times, like we did it with the tour, but I would have walked past it. But if it's your first time doing it, it's fun, it's different, it's not something you get to do on everyday tours.
Yeah, so it's cool to get the picture if you want to get the picture, but if you want to keep that story, keep going with Harry Clown.
Keep walking. So I feel like that area in the... I'm always bad at this.
War of the World.
I feel like that area this year was a huge letdown. I don't think it didn't feel like they were into it as much. It was just kind of like a second thought as compared to everything else.
Yeah, it just seemed like they didn't take as much time as the years past with the Terror Tram being so excellent.
They did something called Black Cat up in that area, and it just I just feel like it didn't work very well. Last year they did such a phenomenal job with the Purge, and then to change up a theme totally, and then it just fell flat there.
But the area they did do really well at is Nope.
Nope was amazing. They took the actual set from the film and moved it from Santa Clarita, where they filmed, down to the Hollywood lower lot.
Yeah, and that was a lot of fun area. I mean, because they mixed Nope with Us, and it actually kind of worked.
In a really weird way, it did. And then just the sounds that they have from the sets coming out, that was freaky.
Yeah. So, yeah, we really enjoyed that part of it. It's just the first part was a letdown for us. And, we're being honest with you guys about it. That's just our thoughts. If you have gone to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios Hollywood, let us know below what you thought of the Terror Tram this year. I'd be interested to know. But a lot of people we talked to said the exact same thing we were saying. They were just kind of like,
okay.
I have one more thing to talk about. It's not a scare zone. It's not anything really Halloweenish.
It's Jabberwockies, who's been there several times at Halloween Horror Nights. They do a phenomenal job of dancing, and they engage the audience. And this year they had audience participation, and they're incredible. I'm just always blown away by the level of performance.
And truthfully, I would not discount them. if you're like, oh, or whatever. The show was actually pretty filled when we went there, and it was a different show than last year.
That part was good. I'm glad because one of the thoughts is like, oh, Jabberwockies is coming back. Is it going to be the same show? This year it is not.
Yeah, and we actually really enjoyed it this year.
But the only drawback, and we said this last year too, is it's not Halloween themed. We wish they used Halloween themed music or lights or more of that to kind of wrap into the evening. We understand that's not usually a Jabberwockies kind of thing, but I actually feel like they would be a great addition to everyday Hollywood studios instead of Halloween Horror Nights. But that's just how we feel about it.
So that's all the different stuff. Now let's get into what we may recommend or what you may want to think of before you go or before you're going, because obviously there's what you need to know before you go. One, also you're gonna have to think ahead of the dates you want to attend. Some dates will sell out, which, like we said, that close to Halloween does go sell out quite often. And also you need to know what level you're gonna go. Unfortunately, I know with more things getting busier and busier, and you only have so many hours to get through things. This is one of the times I really recommend at least looking at the Express Pass.
But also the Friday, Saturday, because you have more hours. I know it's cheaper to go on that Thursday, Sunday, but if you had a general ticket, you really would be limited. You are getting discount prices because you're getting a discounted experience.
Yeah, and the problem with that is you're going to have wait lines for a lot of these. And we went on a rainy night, and they weren't terribly bad. But once you kind of add it up all the times, you'd be pushing it without stopping to get through everything.
Well, and yeah, of course, you're going to want to use the bathrooms, get something to eat, maybe sit for a few minutes, experience.
No, you don't want to do that there, do you?
You want to experience the weekend bar or the Dia de los Muertos or some of the themed food. Then you really may not be able to do all the houses without an express pass.
And you can take a chance and hope that other after midnight one opens up. But it's not a guarantee it's going to be there. And it's like I said, the night we were there, it wasn't available.
So yeah, it's kind of one of those things that you do get value when you pay more.
Mm-hmm. Or your other thing you can do is the unlimited express pass, which that is quite expensive.
It is. And really, because it goes from anywhere from $239 to $249, depending on what night you go. By the time you do the RAP tour, which is only $100 more per night, roughly. That includes parking and dinner and unlimited Express Pass 2. I feel like you get more value out of a RIP tour than you would the unlimited.
You actually may make up that amount just with that. We're going to link our RIP tour down below of what we thought of that, because that's obviously what we did. And the reason we're going through this is you're like, oh, you guys went on RIP tour. We have season passes to Universal that come with a general admission ticket to Halloween Horror Nights, and our son really wants to go this year, and we're going to take him, and we're literally debating if we should get the express pass or not for that night.
It's hard, and I will say once you go to a higher level, I think it'd be really hard to go back.
It's hard to go back, but we're also thinking time-wise, it's going to be tough for us to get through everything.
Exactly.
And so that's kind of the discussions we do have. So it's not that because we did the RIP tour, you guys are spoiled. It's
actually timing and value.
Yeah, and we want to make sure everybody has those thoughts in their heads of what's going on, because we don't want you to waste your time and money going and
be let down.
Get through everything. Another option you do have is if you want to keep going back and back, there are a couple of plans that you could go for unlimited days, and there's another one that has a little bit less limited days. Check the website down below. Or
the frequent flyer or frequent fear pass.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really difficult, and I've heard people have done it and just gone for a couple of mazes, then go home.
And then come back another weekend. And that way they get more Halloween throughout the season. Then I would say that might be better than just a one-time paying that for a night. But you are going to wait online.
So overall, we think this has been a solid year for the houses. It's really good. Terror Tram.
I think it's one of the weaker years.
And
well, I don't know if it's weaker, but I think compared to last year with such like this really high up, if they didn't have that Nope set in there, I really think that you'd be like, I don't know if I'd go on it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We enjoyed our time, even with the rain and everybody getting soaking wet. We enjoyed it.
What was our favorite house?
Okay, so where was my favorite house? This is a difficult one because I really liked The Weeknd.
Yes.
I thought that was unique. I was surprised by it. Maybe my expectations weren't that high going into it, and that made it better. But even the second time when we went through it, I really enjoyed it. But I think, again, I have to go back to the classic, Halloween.
Ooh, yeah, see, that's where I'm torn, like, right there. And I know Halloween doesn't have necessarily all those technical elements and all that, but it really plays into that horror movie fan nostalgia. Mm-hmm. And so I thought it was done really well for that factor.
And this has been a discussion with a lot of people we talked to at the parks is Halloween they really liked. Another one that a lot of people loved was Scarecrow.
The Reaping.
And everybody said the same thing about The Weeknd. They were surprised.
Right, because like I said, that's one of that really scary things is when it gets hyped up so much, you're like, ooh, I'm expecting the big letdown. So let's talk about what our big letdowns were.
Biggest letdown, Terror Trail. No question.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I do say that was a big letdown minus the Nope. But when you put it into a whole, and it just falls short a little bit. But I also say, for me, the actual house that fell the shortest was Universal Hotel.
Yeah, there was a lot of possibility there, a lot of things they could have done. It just, like I said earlier, it felt like it was crammed into an area that they had available, and that was it.
And Blumhouse. I really hate to say that. And this is the one that I was, once again, I was afraid was going to get hyped up. Stranger Things, Walking Dead, the last year kind of level. And I kind of feel like it felt like that a bit. Mm-hmm. Not quite to those levels, but it's almost to that level.
Yeah.
I feel like I said, there was just a few extra touches that could have just elevated it that much more. But then again, I mean, this whole thing is John Murdy's vision and in his mind and with his team, and they really put together an incredible event.
So overall, yeah, we enjoy Halloween Horror Nights. That's her favorite time of year to go to and do all the fun, scary things.
And you know what? Any other time of year that I'm at Universal Studios, I'm always thinking about Halloween Horror Nights. Like, oh, I can't wait till next year. Oh, we're not at Halloween Horror Nights, but we're at Universal Studios Hollywood. Like, I miss it when it's not there.
So, needless to say, we're a fan of it. This year is a great example of it. It may be a little bit more subdued this year than years past, but it's still a great fun time to go to.
Actually, next year, I actually want to, in like midsummer, do like I feel like now I have a pretty good grasp on these houses that we've gone so long. I already have some predictions for next year.
Ooh. Well, we'll see if you're right, but I think we need to end this video.
Okay. If you found this video helpful,
please like,
subscribe,
and follow along with our own Hana. And with that, I think it's time for us to say goodbye and
find your magic. Bye, everyone. Happy Halloween.
It's not Halloween yet.
Yes, it is. Halloween Horror Nights is open. It's Halloween.
Oh, so you celebrated for months.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.